This is a download from BBC Radio 2. For more information and our terms of use, visit the Radio 2 website. BBC Radio 2. Hi, this is Janice Long, or Longer in this case, with an abridged version of my regular show, which broadcasts every weekday at midnight. This week chatting to Colin Blunstone about his solo career and the continuing success of his first band, The Zombies, and his love of the Scottish town St Andrews. So a very warm welcome to my guest, Colin Blunstone, who I've been dying to meet ever since I bought Ennismore in 1972.
You don't look old enough to have bought that in 72.
I was at school and I bought it and I played it to death.
Oh, fantastic.
Absolutely
Thank you so much.
Loved that. Was your second solo album, wasn't it?
It was, indeed, yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you're just back from the Philippines and Japan.
Yep, we got back Sunday evening.
So how are your brains? Are they fried?
Yes. It is quite difficult to adjust, from such a big time change. But we had a great time out. Obviously, I was with the Zombies out there.
Yeah.
And strangely enough, the Philippines was the biggest territory for us.
Really?
When we arrived in the Philippines, I think we had 7 records in the top 10.
Gosh.
And the really interesting thing was, because communications were so poor in those days, we didn't know. It was a total surprise when we got off the plane.
Were you mobbed?
There were thousands of people there as we got off the plane. I did that typical thing of looking over my shoulder and thinking, there's someone famous on this plane, Look, because it was 2:00 in the morning, and they were there for us.
Gosh, everybody shocked. Rod and the rest of the band all shocked.
Absolutely. We thought we were going to be playing in a bar in a hotel and spend the day on the beach, and we opened to 28,000 people.
My goodness.
It was an incredible
experience. And when
experience.
Was this?
It was 1967.
Because you were still babies then, weren't you?
I know we were, yeah. Because we didn't think we were then. But looking back, yes, we were.
Well, you were first because you got the blue plaque at the Blacksmith Arms in St Albans.
Yes, we have.
So that was 1961. You were 16. Did you have a pint? Were you, drinking?
No, we couldn't go in the pub. Actually, I was 15 when we first met.
Really?
And we met outside the pub. I played a lot of rugby in those days at school. And when I turned up, I didn't know most of the other guys.
Were they all at a different school from you?
They were at a different school, and the common link, the guy that knew both sets, he was late. So I turned up and I got a broken nose and I was strapped right across my face with 2 black eyes.
Attractive look.
Attractive, yes. And they were all trembling and hoping, oh, please don't let him be someone who's going to be in the band.
And you remember that meeting, I suppose, vividly?
I do. I remember it very, very well. 1961, we went and we had our first rehearsal, and I was a rhythm guitarist. I wasn't the singer.
No.
Rod Argent was going to be the singer, and in a break he went and played an old broken down piano, terrible disintegrating piano, and he played Nut Rocker by B. Bumble and the Stingers, and my jaw dropped. I mean, we were okay, but we just weren't in his league. But he wasn't even going to play, and I said, Rod, you've got to play keyboards in the band. And he said, yeah, but bands are all 3 guitars, aren't they? You don't have keyboards. And that's from then on, that's really, I think, when the Zombies started. And
the sound,
Yes, of course. Yeah. It's associated with Rod's keyboards,
No, fantastic. Well, I'm going to play a track from your new album, which I really enjoy.
Great,
really good.
You.
Thank you very much indeed for it on the air tonight. And this is the single, The Best Is Yet to Come.
Great.
On the air tonight is the album that's a single from it, Colin Blunstone, and The Best Is Yet to Come. And I noticed... on this album, I've no sort of songwriting info, but when I got the single, I noticed Melanie Chisholm, Sporty Spice.
That's right. She's one of the writers on that song, yeah. So I think it's a fabulous song. Yeah. So congratulations to all the writers.
What's it like for you to listen to it now, though? Because you did this quite a while back.
Yeah, it's right. I mean, we probably started recording that 18 months ago or something like that. So it's great for me to hear it with you, alone in this room, because it sounds fresh again to me, and I can judge it a little bit and just say, yeah, it wasn't too bad.
Have you not heard it on the radio yet?
No, I haven't.
Oh,
no,
right.
not at all. But, well, I've been in Japan and the Philippines.
Of course. So, how was it this time? I mean, revisiting the Philippines, where you're incredibly popular, and apparently America loves you. Somebody was saying to me, I don't know if it was Seymour Stein or somebody, saying if the Zombies wanted to tour America, they could do it incessantly.
Well, we do that. We're going to tour America 3 times next year. The first one is an interesting one because we're going on a Moody Blues cruise.
What's a Moody Blues cruise?
Well, I'm not
it says on the
sure,
packet.
But it's a cruise where there are 3 or 4 bands playing, but the Moody Blues are headlining.
Right.
And so we start in Florida, and then I think we do sort of 4 or 5 days cruising around the West Indies. Well,
nice work if you can get it.
Someone's got to do it.
That's all right, isn't
it? We've got to play 2 one-hour shows, and then Rod Argent and myself are going to do like a 40-minute just piano and voice, and there'll be questions and answers afterwards and that sort of thing. So I think it'll just be a wonderful experience.
It'll be great.
That's the first thing we're doing. We're headlining a festival in Central Park in New York in the summer. And I think we're going to Canada and the Northeast for another tour as well. So we do go to the States a lot.
It's taking off, this sort of gigging on the waves, because Coachella, the big festival in America, they're actually going to be doing it on a cruise ship as well, apparently.
Yeah,
so, you know, it's the new thing.
Yeah.
Hi, Janet, Di here, Kent. I'm so glad Colin Blunstone is on. I've loved his voice since 1964, and last December I took my teenage twins to Zombie's 50th anniversary tour. A lot of love, Colin.
That's absolutely brilliant. Well, thanks so much for coming to the show and our 50th anniversary. And it's so interesting for us to think that the band actually started in 1961.
I know.
It's just incredible. Where's the time gone?
But you did split up in 68.
Yeah, around there. It might even have been 67, actually. But we've always kept in contact. And
it wasn't an acrimonious split.
No, I think we just all felt that it was time for us to go on and do other things. And in fact, many of my albums, Rod Argent and Chris White produced the first 3 albums,
I was going to say, you didn't go very far away from each other, did you?
No. And since then, we keep sort of meeting up and working together all the time. So in some ways, the more things change, the more they stay the same.
Yeah. You're going to be doing a spoken word session for us in a wee while, but we've also asked you to pick some music, the first of which is Sting and Fragile. Huge Sting fan?
I am a huge Sting fan. I love his music, and I love it that he's never compromised. You know, he's managed to keep a commercial edge whilst he speaks his mind and stands up for what he thinks is right. And there's not many people. I mean, there are other people that have done it, but there are not a lot of people who have done that. So I admire him, and I love his music. And in particular, I love this song that I think we're going to play.
Fragile. Fragile, friend Sting, and Colin Blunstone, my guest, listening to Mr. B on Late Train Home. Just magical, an immortal phenomenon. Thank you, Annie B on Train to Norwich. And John in Scotland says Zombie Cell 44 fave song ever.
Brilliant, yeah.
Tell us about the time that you worked with Sting.
It was a huge show in Antwerp, and I hadn't played live since 1967, and this was 1995. So it was nearly 30 years. Yeah. But it was an opportunity to play with a symphony orchestra, a rock band, and a huge choir all at the same time. Gosh. And I thought, you know, this opportunity may never come again. But it was really daunting. They'd asked me to do a version of She's Not There, but they wanted me to do the Santana version. And I was just really, really worried that I'd go into the Zombies arrangement, which is totally different to the Santana version. And I was playing with an orchestra, so they're reading the music. So if I went into a wrong section, they wouldn't follow me. So there I was. I hadn't been on a stage in 30 years. And it started at the top of this huge stage that sloped down to the orchestra, to the audience. 20,000 people out there. It's being filmed for TV, and it's being recorded. Right at the top of the walk was Sting, someone who I admire very much, watching me. I was very flattered, but it put me a little bit on edge. Then I had to walk past a choir, then past the rock band, and then past a full orchestra before I got to the stage to sing to 20,000 people, an arrangement that I wasn't familiar with. But I mean, you get through these things somehow.
But it must have been so intimidating, having not done it for nearly 30 years,
yes.
28 years or something.
I wouldn't recommend it, I've got to be honest. I think you need a doctor somewhere near, just in case you have a bit of a turn, to be honest.
Or a few warm-up gigs, in a few little clubs or whatever.
I know. Or even a little drink before you go on. But I didn't dare, because the difference in the arrangements between Santana and the Zombies is so striking that I had to do it absolutely straight.
Do you feel as though you're getting the best of both worlds at the moment? Because, you're doing your solo thing and you're out with the Zombies.
Well, absolutely. I mean, no one's more surprised than me and Rod Argent that we're playing live with the Zombies. Both of us thought our live days had gone a long time ago. And then I'm doubly confounded that I end up doing solo concerts as well. And so much of it's just chance. People just say, well, would you fancy doing this? And you think, well, yeah, I wouldn't mind. It hasn't been planned at all. It's just gradually evolved over many years. We started off, Rod and I were going to do 6 concerts in about the year 2000, and here we are 12 years later, still playing all around the world, all over Europe, all over the States and the Far East, and really, really enjoying it. We've got a very, very good band, and we're really fortunate to be playing with these wonderful musicians.
Great. Can you remember, because I'm just looking at Sylvia there, who sent an email. Did I give it to you? Or
yes, I think you did.
Yeah, and it's her first gig, and it's a poster. You're on the bill with Dionne Warwick, aren't you?
Yes, and the Isley Brothers and the Searchers. I remember it very, very well. And 4 or 5 weeks ago, we'd be playing at the local youth club. And then we had a hit record, and suddenly we're playing with the Searchers, who were probably the second biggest band in the world after the Beatles. Dionne Warwick, who's just a superstar, and the Isley Brothers, they're wonderful. And the audiences didn't appreciate them, but they are absolutely fantastic, the Isley Brothers. And there's the Zombies with them.
What year was that?
1964.
64.
It was the autumn of 64.
So you were 19?
Yes.
No, 18 or 19, yeah.
I was just 19. My birthday's in June, just in case you wanted to get me a present next year.
I'll put you on the list.
And for us, it was just magical. We were playing with these heroes, and I mean, we were in the wings every night, watching them, just spellbound, to just watch these wonderful artists.
What an experience. What an amazing life you've had. Stephen Bishop, you're a huge fan, yes?
I am a huge fan. I haven't listened to him a lot recently, but I was sitting in a hotel in the Philippines, and actually it wasn't his record, but it was a guy playing in the hotel bar, and he started playing on and on. I mean, I love all his songs. He's absolutely fantastic. And I was sitting there, and I was sitting with Rod Argent, actually, and I said, when I do Janice Long's show when I get back, I'd love to hear On and On by Stephen Bishop. And I got that from the guy playing in the bar in the Philippines.
Well, your wish. Stephen Bishop and On. Annette Edgar via Twitter says, please ask the nice Colin Blunstone to come and play in Lincoln for us. We're listening to you now. And also, does Colin remember one of his early gigs he did for our school dance at St. Birinus, is it? In Didcot in the 60s.
Well,
yes.
Yes, of course. Vividly.
It was a great night. You've got some listeners in Japan who are members of Colin's Facebook page. Takako Sakiba and Miyuki Kimura are listening in Japan, where it's 8:28 a.m. And I know I like a Colin Blunstone song. I just can't place it. It's a bit like Orange Juice with the guy who... which song would it be? It's a bit like an Orange Juice song. I don't know. Are you familiar with the works of Orange Juice, Edwin Collins?
No.
Never mind.
Sorry.
So I'm just thinking about, you start, you form a band at 16. Are your parents going, well, come on, you've got to get a proper job. You can't be doing this, for the rest of your lives. Or were they fully, supporting it?
They were... I was really surprised that when they didn't mind when we were playing as amateurs, but when the opportunity came to turn professional, and we hadn't got a hit record, we didn't turn professional after She's Not There, we turned professional before. And when I say turn professional, I don't know...
What does that mean?
I know. Well, it means
that... Get a manager.
No, it means that we bought an old truck.
Oh, right.
And we were going to go driving off looking for work. That's as far as we got, really. And we won a big rock competition, which did start to make us think, well, maybe there is something there. And then we met a producer called Ken Jones, and he got us a deal with Decca Records. But we decided to be professional musicians before all this. And Ken Jones, this producer, he just said as an aside, we've got the studio booked in a couple of weeks' time. You know, you could write something for it if you wanted to. And then he went on and talked about something else, and I must admit I completely forgot about it. And about 4 days later, Rod Argent turned up with She's Not There.
Really?
And I thought, I didn't know he wrote songs.
Because what were you doing? You were doing covers.
We were doing covers. This is one of the problems. When She's Not There was a hit, suddenly we had to go out and play to our public. Well, 2 months earlier, we'd been doing Beatles covers, and we didn't have that catalogue of songs that we could... sorry, I've just been shot. We didn't have that catalogue of songs that we could rely on because Rod had only just started writing, and Chris White, the other writer in the band, had only just started writing. So that was a slight problem.
So the Beatles, were they your inspiration?
Well, they certainly were just before we turned professional.
Yeah.
I think most of us started off with, being really thrilled with the songs of Elvis.
I was going to say American, sort of rock.
It's all American, yeah. Elvis, well, that's where rock and roll came from, wasn't it? Elvis, Chuck Berry, Little Richard, Gene Vincent.
Yes.
All those, the early rock gods,
Your lectern is being fixed as we speak. Rod's brought a very heavy book with him to read from, and I remembered that there was a lectern somewhere here. So,
but it just collapsed.
It collapsed under the weight of the book.
Yes, that's what the shot sound was.
The Beach Boys. What is it? The harmonies, the songwriting. What?
Oh. Everything. I guess it is the harmonies.
Whole package.
And the sunshine. I loved the idea of, surfing. I still love the idea now.
Didn't you live in the States?
I did, actually. I lived for nearly a year in California. But I have to tell you, I was really surprised the Pacific of California is freezing. I thought it was going to be tepid when I went in there.
You ran down with your board?
Yes. No, I ran straight back out again. Bloody freezing. And another thing I didn't know is they have great white sharks off California. Well, if I'd known that, I wouldn't have gone in at all.
No, my big toe would not go anywhere near anything that's got, sharks.
No.
So the Beach Boys, Don't Worry Baby, is this your favourite Beach Boys song?
Well, it's a special one because, sadly, our lead guitarist in the Zombies, Paul Atkinson, died about 7 or 8 years ago, and we had a concert at the House of Blues on Sunset Strip, and a lot of the artists who Paul had worked with, because he'd moved to the other side of the business and he'd worked with MCA, RCA, CBS, and a lot of the artists that he'd worked with, they all loved him and they wanted to come and play. And the two I remember were Bruce Hornsby and Brian Wilson. And Brian asked Paul Atkinson, what would you like me to play? And he said, I'd really like you to play Don't Worry Baby. And he played it, and it was wonderful. And I found myself in a little dark corner at the back of the hall and thinking how ill Paul was. And sadly, he died about 3 weeks later. And the tears were just streaming down my eyes. It's such a beautiful song, and it does mean something very personal to me.
That's the Beach Boys and Don't Worry Baby, and Colin Blunstone, my guest, about to do a spoken word session. Fergie and Aberdeen, great to hear Colin on the radio. And not only did the Zombies release one of the best albums ever in Odyssey and Oracle, but also the world's cleverest band. And Colin, anyone sounds, he just sounds such a wonderfully delightful person. Great interview, sheer delight to listen to. Thanks both for a super evening. Alex Huntingdon. Wow, Colin doesn't sound like a 67-year-old. He doesn't look like one either. Polly and Glossip. How amazing, Colin. And even better, because I've just realised that you are timeless, says Claire. Please say hi to Colin. He's great. Love his voice. Was playing Say You Don't Mind before. Stunning. Had crush on him. Told from the Wirral, I think that is. And what a great guest. Sounds like a top bloke. One of my favourite tunes of all time is Say You Don't Mind, Stuart Bowley, who's railwaying near Crediton.
Fantastic.
That's great.
Yeah, that's really wonderful.
That's coming in. So, actually, you mentioned labels before, because you've been on a fair few labels, haven't you, in your time?
I have.
Including Elton John's
Rocket Records. What a wonderful label. I mean, I think that was the most enjoyable time for me, really, because they really believed in the artists. They really wanted to support them and help them do what they wanted to do. It was a fantastic label. I made... And you know, the irony of it was, I made 3 albums for them, and there wasn't one hit on any of those albums, and I'd had hits all the way before.
Yes.
And as soon as I finished, I recorded What Becomes of the Broken Hearted with Dave Stewart, which was a huge hit. So the really fantastic label that I was on was Rocket Records. I couldn't give them a hit. Now, that was sad, but it's just the way things are.
He's a character, isn't he, Dave Stewart?
Yeah, but make sure it's the right Dave. There's 2 Dave Stewarts.
I know, yeah. I know which one.
Mean?
Yes,
yeah, okay.
I do.
He is a character. He's a great talent.
Yeah, very.
Great talent.
And St Andrews. Do you have an obsession with St Andrews? Have you been there? Do you play golf there?
No. I've played golf a couple of times, and I have to tell you, I'm the world's worst golf player. It takes me about a day and a half to get round.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And by the time you do, the clubhouse is shut.
Absolutely. It makes me laugh because I used to play with my cousin, and he tends to... Which way is it? He hooks so he goes to the left, and I slice, so I go to the right. So we would meet on the tee and hit the ball off, and he'd go one way and I'd go the other way, and I'd see him half an hour later when we putted on the green. So there wasn't much conversation as we went round. I admire. I'd like to like golf. It looks such great fun for people that do it, but I'm just hopeless. So
I've never tried. No. I did plan to years ago. I was going to go with a friend of mine, Helen, and we thought we'd go and have lessons. Thought it'd be quite a nice thing to do, but never got round to it.
Well, it's more difficult than it looks. I think that's the trouble.
Yeah.
But
so yes, St Andrews.
Yes.
This book that you've got on St Andrews. Why did you get it?
Well, I was trying to think of something that was special to me. My daughter went to St Andrews University.
Did she?
She did, and she absolutely loved it.
What did she do?
History.
All right.
And it's a 4-year course up there. So for 4 years, the family were up and down to St Andrews all the time, and we just fell in love with it. It's the most perfect place. It's so beautiful, and there's lots of history there, loads of wonderful restaurants. It's got everything, and we really loved it. And in our hotel room, there was this lovely sort of, what do you call it, coffee table book, and it's got great pictures. It's called St Andrews Portrait of a City. Every page has just got beautiful pictures on it, and just explains the history and what's going on in St Andrews at the moment. Loved it so much, we bought a copy of the book, and I found this little poem in there, and I thought, well, this is really special to me. I find it very, very sad, but in a beautiful way, and so I brought that along. And this book is very heavy, so luckily I didn't have to come on the tube and the bus. I came in the car, because I wouldn't have fancied carrying it all that way.
It's a tome, a hefty tome.
It certainly is.
So you're going to read it for us?
Shall I have a go?
Yes, please.
All right, then. I wonder...
hello, back again. Just to let you know that we can't broadcast spoken word extracts in podcasts. But remember, you can hear my guests' poetry readings if you listen live every Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. And, of course, you can go to the iPlayer where it's there for a week. Well, now back to the last part of my interview with Colin Blunstone. Oh, that's gorgeous, isn't it?
So sad. And that's by R.F. Murray.
I've never heard of R.F. Murray.
No, not me neither. But it's just so true that special places
they do.
Bring all these memories back to you. And this is a beautiful... a lade, as far as I know, is a waterway that's being cut. And in this instance, anyway, it's been cut to bring water to an ancient priory so they could drive the mills.
Oh, right.
And then over the years, they've built it up with wonderful trees, and it's just a lovely walk.
Yeah.
And And obviously it was a special place for Mr. R.F. Murray.
Yes, well, beautiful and beautifully read. And I would never have imagined when I saved up, money from my Saturday job in 1972 to buy Ennismore that I would eventually meet Colin Blunstone. I was so excited and I knew that I could get you in to do something. So I thank you very, very much indeed for taking the time.
Absolute pleasure, thank you.
And when are you out on the road again?
I'm doing a tour of Holland. I'm doing about 3 weeks in Holland with my solo band.
Great.
And then another UK burst with the solo band in the middle of January. And then the Zombies start in February.
And that's global.
It's global, yes. Once they get going, there's no stopping them.
The album On the Air Tonight, Colin Blunstone, is out now.
It sure is.
A pleasure. Thank you very, very much indeed.
Thank you so much.
And this is I Don't Believe in Miracles.
Oh, all right.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that, and thank you. What a great bloke Colin Blunstone is. I've loved him since I bought Ennismore back in 1972 when I was at school. Thank you for downloading the podcast from the BBC, and remember you can catch my show live every weekday from midnight here on Radio 2.
Thanks for listening to this free download. Now why not try more?
I'm Mike Harding, and every week I'm proud to say that my podcast brings you a selection of the very best in folk, roots and acoustic music. On the podcast, you can hear clips from my programme of classic tracks, the latest new releases and interviews with the artists behind them. It's all in a free download called Folk and Acoustic with Mike Harding. Search online for BBC Radio 2 podcasts.
All at the Radio 2 website.
BBC Radio